We are. Welcome back to the Loco Experience podcast. My guest today is Ann Barron. And Ann, before we get going, I thought I would just share that on my way out the door, Jill asked me who my podcast was with today, as she often does.
Right.
And usually she's like, "Oh, that's nice." And when I told her it was you, she was like, "Oh, good. Well, give her a hug from me."
Oh, that's sweet.
So
Well, give Joe a hug for me.
I think it's because she's one of the only people she knows that's shorter than she
Short
is.
people have to hang together.
Short people crowd. You guys could get a scooter gang established. A shorty scooter gang. I'd like
That'd
to
be
see
funny.
that.
That'd be cute.
So, and you are the founder and the owner of Northern Colorado Community
Yes, correct.
here in the I guess Larimer County region mostly.
Yeah, basically northern Colorado. So,
Yeah, and like for those that don't know about that, what is the Northern Colorado Community? Let's just start
yeah.
there.
Well, thanks for having me on the
Of course,
podcast, by
thanks
the
for
way,
being
Kurt.
here. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Northern Colorado Community is a boutique networking group that I founded over 8 years ago. And the main goal is to help the small businesses and local businesses to grow and thrive, be that resource and that connector. And that is my passion
That's
in life.
it is. You've been very passionate about that.
Yeah.
And I met you before that when you were, at least at one point, you were with the Chamber of Commerce.
That's correct. I was with the local Chamber of Commerce doing sales and membership and loved that whole kind of arena and networking, getting to know people. So,
When I describe Northern Colorado Community, I describe it as a little bit like a chamber, but it's interregional. So you've got a lot of members from Loveland, Fort Collins, et cetera, but also it kind of comes with you because you're like the connecting hub of so many introductions and intentional events every month.
yeah. Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. So,
I
what
guess
I
that's where the boutique comes in. You get that personal concierge service.
Yes, exactly. So what I say, it's a little bit like chamber on steroids because
Okay.
we are everywhere from LaPorte down to Berthoud with the events, and
Mm.
then towns in between, such as Loveland, Fort Collins, Johnstown, and Windsor. So we are not just in one town.
Hmm.
And then the secret sauce, I say to folks, is connecting people to professionals they want to meet. So it could be to other members in the group or other professionals outside of the group, but whatever is the best intentional or connection that's going to make the most sense for that
Yeah,
business
yeah.
person.
At Loco, we say we have a little phrase I say, which is we look for the win-win-win-win, but we'll settle for the win-win-win if necessary. It seems like you have a lot of that kind of wiring.
Yeah, yes, very true. So, really, at this point in my life, I could retire, but I really enjoy what I do. I love getting to meet new people, especially small business people, and help them really see their business grow. The bottom line is if the business grows, then it's better for the community, it's better
Yeah.
for the local commerce, and everyone,
Well, it's
is
just hard.
a winner.
It's
Yeah.
such a struggle spot when you're in a business that's trying to get to the corner, or that place where if you just got a job, you could make $4,000 a month, and you've been making $2,000 a month for a while, and you're like, should I just give up? But I know I can get there.
Yeah, exactly. From building your own business, but it's that just that curve at the beginning of being able to get out there and get the word out there, let people know about your service and product. And what we try to do is kind of give that little step up or hand up by again, connecting you through in-person meetings, intentional connecting emails. Also, I give 1 free hour of consulting every month if people want it. So there's a lot of different ways of support for the members and the business people.
Yeah, I dig it.
Yeah.
Can you talk about what a monthly rhythm looks like? Like, what are you doing? Like all these different kind of connecting events. You
Yeah.
feel free to do a shameless plug. That's fine. It's cool. You shamelessly plug so many good causes in the community that I can't help it. Ann and I also are together on the ambassador board for Realities for Children. So we've
Yes.
been fighting over the ambassador.
Trophy.
The ambassador trophy the last few quarters.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thanks for asking. So we do have 3 to 5 in-person events each and every month. So they vary from a happy hour to a business after hours, lunch and learn, a salon, an activity night. So we really try to change it up. And my other saying this year is I'm putting the fun back into networking.
Okay.
Instead of just kind of the same old boring thing that everyone does. We might do axe throwing. We might do a vision
You
board,
got putt-putt coming up.
putt-putt. We might do a mind map. So we do a lot of different things.
Very good. Very good. Um, And do you do a lot of events like with your member locations or in things, or not always? Just kind of wherever you find fun stuff to do.
Yeah, that's a good point. So generally, we do try to do events at a member location, especially the business after hours are
Sure.
all member. And you're going to be
We've
hosting
hosted
one
those. Yeah, we got another one coming
in
up this year.
August, I believe. But we do those at a member business. That's one of the benefits of being a member. I have to say, like the happy hours and the socials, those are actually, whatever fun brewery, winery. There's a lot of them around in town, and
Sure.
generally a lot of them don't market through networking because they can get businesses other ways. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway,
They don't
so
join networking groups necessarily. That's not their thing.
yeah, not generally, but yes,
But they sure
usually.
like it when you bring 25 people to their brewery
Yeah,
on a
yeah.
Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they always welcome it. We've brought people to Verboten. I see you have a Verboten
Oh yeah,
container,
I've been
and
using this forever.
yeah,
Beer for
no,
all is their theme.
yeah, no, Angie and the folks over there. So
That
they've
was our
been
first.
great.
I kind of lifted their first, or their tagline for my first one, which was "Pure Advisory for All." When
Oh,
Loco Think Tank was first getting going.
I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's always good to borrow good
right.
themes. Yeah. So anyway, we do a lot of fun events. We're going to do a luau up at
Oh,
Sunrise Ranch in
okay,
early May, and that's for men and women professionals. So
okay.
we're going to have Hawaiian food
Is it
and
a pig roast?
it well, could be, but maybe if I talk nice to Kimberly, she can
I'd
get
be
the
willing
chef.
to. Yeah, I could help you with the pig roast. That'd be fun.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, very nice. And how did you like come to put this together? Like, what was the inclination? Or have you kind of built what you were trying to build when you set out, or did you not really know what you were trying to build when you set out?
Well, I think when you're a new person, a new business owner, you don't know what you don't know at the beginning.
Totally.
Just one moment here.
Sure.
A lot of talking.
It
And
is.
I have to say, I'm more of a morning person, but hey, this is good. Make me do something in the afternoon.
Sorry.
No, that's great. It all
I
works
can
out.
get you a cup of coffee to follow the tea if we need to.
Yeah. So, what got me started was, as we shared, I was in the chamber world and really enjoyed that helping and meeting and connecting small businesses. And then it kind of had a aha moment about 9 or 10 years ago, and I thought maybe I could do my own networking group and just charge a small fee. And if you remember, Kurt, you and I talked about it.
Sure.
I charge only $149 for the year for members to join.
I'm pretty sure I told you to raise your price when we
You're
first
probably like,
got going.
what are you doing? Are you going to make any money? So we're now at almost $500 for the year.
Yeah.
But the
Which is
point,
still very affordable.
yeah, exactly. So I just thought I'd put it out there, see who joined. Folks like you and Eric Whedon and Peggy Calloway. Folks just jumped on board right away because they already knew me. And so they already trusted me and
Hmm.
felt like that regardless what happens, they wanted to be a part of the group. And it's grown, and we have great members like you and Blue Credit Union and Alpha Graphics, computer doctors.
So
We,
many. Yeah.
yeah, we have a lot of just wonderful professionals who are part of the group.
Yeah. No, it's been a really steady, like it's fun. I'm probably guilty of only coming to maybe a few events a year, maybe a dozen or so once a month or something. But the like some of the people that have been there for years are still there. While you still see a lot of new faces and get to meet a lot of new people, you've grown a lot, and so that's nice to always see. But there's still some of those stalwarts that have been bumping around there for, almost since you started.
Yes, there's definitely the early adopters, as you know, with
Sure.
groups that trust you regardless what you're going to do, what's happening with the group down the road. And then this last, I don't know, I guess I just decided to kick into gear. Kurt's probably about like, you should have been doing that like 20 years ago. But anyway, no, Kurt's always been very kind to me. But in the last 40 days, I've had 18 new members join.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's
I hope you
great.
keep growing. And is that the vision? Do you want to do anything different with it in the future? Just kind of more of what you're doing, or would you want to franchise it to other communities or grow more regionally?
Right, great questions. Probably more doing what I'm doing because I really enjoy being able to be hands on and get to know everyone. I'm not saying I wouldn't franchise, but that's probably not a goal of mine right at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. Well, you mentioned already, like you're a lot older than you look. Like, I don't remember how old you are, but I know you're quite a bit older than me, and you look younger.
Oh, thanks.
So like you said, you could retire if you chose to or whatever. But um, I guess would you want the Northern Colorado community to live on beyond you? Are you like, would you try to find a successor?
Oh,
Or will you
that's
just do this until you're 93? Because I can see you being healthy and fit and running around having tea with people 20 years, 30 years from now still.
well, I'll probably do it as long as I can. I mean, I can definitely see doing this 10 or 20 years. There's a lot of
Yeah.
networking leaders that have done it for a long time. And I don't know. That's a good question about as far as would I have like a successor or
Even just
person that
somebody to
would
help you
be
put all
take
this
care of
stuff
it.
together every month and
Yeah.
handle the plethora of emails.
Right, right. So,
How many
yeah,
email
maybe.
introductions, how many connections with people a month do you think you have? Either
Oh,
an email introduction or a coffee or a tea or just a meeting, or
oh boy.
it's like 5 to 10 a
I
day, isn't it?
yeah, I would say, especially with a lot of the onboarding of new members, I'd probably say I do probably close to 100 in a month. And then that's not including my other in-person meetings, Zoom,
Yeah, your
phone
free
calls.
consultings with your existing members, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think your special sauce is? Like when you've gotten your head underneath the hood of a small business person, maybe a first or second year high opportunity, but maybe not getting as much traction. How do you help them most?
Well, I would say well, not obviously, but I think the free consulting. I've had folks double their income. I've had folks say they obtain the most customers through my networking group. But the thing is really getting to know the folks and what their need is and
Mm.
what will help them and be that resource. So some of them it's they want to be a speaker, some of them they just want a little help on how to do customer attainment, customer retention, maybe how to use their time. And so there's just a lot of different
You're a
ways.
bit of a strategist in general, but also a connector, is I think what I'm hearing.
Yeah, so for instance, it's not just the events, but for instance, someone might say, well, I had someone say, I'm going to think it over. That's kind of a common thing when you're trying to sell a service or product. I'm going to think it over.
Sure.
And really, sometimes it's just better. There's a Sandler training thing, but sometimes it's better just to get to the know. Like,
Yeah.
okay, Susan, that's okay if you don't want to be a part of the group. That's all right with me, and it's not maybe the group for you, and that's okay. That's not a problem. But if you get people to the know, then you don't spin your wheel,
Oh, that's so smart.
wasting time talking to folks. You still are friendly, and you
Sure.
still
Yeah, yeah.
are very
You leave the door open to potentially, but you're not going to spend any time on it.
yeah, you're still very positive to them when you interact with them.
So, like what's the technique? And not to steal from Sandler, like you say, but
Yeah.
how do you get? Do you declare the no almost? Is that what I heard you saying there?
Well, this is not a new to me, but just saying something like, "Well, Kurt, maybe this is not the group for you, or this is not the time,"
Yeah.
and then people can either, get off the pot, or
Mm.
what.
They can
So,
kind of indicate to you through that. That's almost your way of asking for the sale.
yeah, exactly. You're right, and it's the takeaway, which is not a new way of kind of strategizing or doing a sales technique. And then people will go, well, actually, I am interested, or no, I don't really think this is the group for me now, or I'm going to think about it. And if they say, I want to think about it, maybe a few months down the road, they might say, check back.
Yeah.
And the thing is you want to then check back with them, because if you don't, then it just, really won't ever
Yeah.
probably result into a new client.
Fair
But
enough. I talk about even on this podcast. I've talked about the Colorado slow maybe. you've
that's
you've
a good one.
experienced it, yeah.
Yeah.
Where they don't really want to quite say yes, but they don't want to say no. But I think I'm refreshed that I've got some techniques to change that. Um, what's your like if you were going to describe Northern Colorado, especially the small business community, to somebody listening from far away, maybe in a city somewhere or whatever? How would you describe our region here,
Oh, wow.
especially your little slice of it?
Well, I would say the folks are very friendly, and do think people do want to be a community and support and help one another.
Yeah,
It's not a big city here, as you know, so folks do get to know each other, and you will bump into people even out of the grocery store or just out and
sure.
about town. So you always want to keep things positive, no matter how things happen. And whether they become your client or not. You just want to keep things positive and the door open, like you said.
Fair.
But and it's a fairly safe area. I think we have a good education system. We have a fairly safe area to live. So I think there's a lot of positives. I recently went to a new hairstylist, and she had
Okay.
moved here from another state. And
Okay.
I asked her, why did you pick Colorado and why did you pick Fort Collins, is where she lives? And she said she did her research, and this area was in one of the top like 10 or 20 towns
Sure.
to live in America.
Yeah.
And then she also looked at culture and then the type of work she does. So
And where did she come from?
she came from California,
Okay.
Southern California.
Yeah.
So yeah, she liked it here, and she decided to move here.
And you were a West Coaster too before, right? Like Oregon?
Yes, exactly. So I lived in Oregon for over 30 years.
Okay. And how did you land in Colorado?
I moved here with State Farm Insurance. It was a
Okay.
company relocation and
Okay.
move. Yeah, and just stayed.
Okay. We'll circle back and jump in the time machine to your earliest years. But I was curious, and did so they said, hey, you want to come to Loveland and work at our big State Farm office here? That was when they built that new building over there and whatnot.
Right, that's correct. So they built that new building. They did a countrywide call for anyone who was a State Farm employee to apply
Okay.
for the job. And I lived in Washington State, so I applied for the job. Didn't think I would get it.
Yeah.
They flew me out with other people for an interview. Didn't think I would be hired. They hired me, and they actually hired me at a job level higher than I applied for.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You must have made a good impression.
So
What did you think? Like, had you been out to Colorado before?
we had just driven through it as a family, as a
Gotcha.
child, but I had not really been in Colorado.
Yeah.
I did like it. I do have to say, coming from the Northwest, that it
It's
was
pretty dry and barren,
yeah, it's flat, and there
except
wasn't.
for where it's not flat.
Yeah, exactly. And there wasn't quite as much like variety of restaurants and things to do, but that's changed a lot in the last few years.
It has, yeah, the last 10 years especially, but it's always kind of punched above its weight in terms of restaurants and things to do. And what have you seen really change, especially in northern Colorado in that time?
Well, I think there has been more the variety, like culture and restaurants and variety of activities to do that I didn't see when I first moved here
Sure.
about 30 years ago.
And I think in my banking days earlier, like there was kind of an anti-regionalism. Like Fort Collins was Fort Collins proud, and Loveland was, proud to be Loveland, and they still have that. But now there's so much more of an acknowledgement that, hey, a third of your people drive over here for their jobs and vice versa, and there's really no point in being other than regional friends and partners, and bringing the smart people up out of Denver and bringing their businesses with them and stuff.
Yeah, you are right. There's definitely more of being cooperative in the different towns
Yeah.
because I saw a lot of the towns kind of being in their own silo. So Fort Collins kind of stayed to themselves, Greeley, Loveland. But I do think there's more of a coordination between the towns with
Yeah.
resources and connecting.
I think some of those small businesses really help drive that. If you're a small business in Berthoud or Johnstown or Windsor or something, you probably will need to expand your service area ultimately to build a sustainable size.
Yeah, that is very much the case. And I do find that quite a few of the business people own more than one franchise or business in more than one town.
Yeah.
So one of the newer clients, Alpha Graphics, they own the Loveland one, but now they own the Greeley
Sure.
location too.
Yep.
So it makes sense, and none of those towns are that far apart.
Yeah, it makes it fairly straightforward to have staff, even shift staff from the Greeley store to the Loveland store if you need to for something or whatever.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think, if you were going to give, because I would say, you've got a lot of established business people that have been in business for 10 plus years, but also you're still a gathering place for a lot of first, second, third year kind of business people to get their start in the networking world and kind of have connection. What do you see are some of the consistencies among the people that succeed? Like, what do they got to bring to the table to make it?
Yeah, so I would say consistency and top of mind awareness, as you know, is that just keeping your face out there for people to know you're still around, that you're in business.
Yep.
Because people have a short memory and they forget, that
true.
you're still in business or you still have that service or product. And a lot of times people aren't going to need what you're selling right away. It may take time. They might like, oh yeah, I need that roof. I had the hail damage. Now I need, who's that roofing
Right.
person?
Yep.
Right. So those are examples.
Some perseverance is one of the things then.
Yeah, and then always building those positive relationships. When you go to events, just really making sure that you're positive, even if things don't go the way you want, but don't be expressing that when you're out in a group.
Yeah.
If you're with a friend, that's fine. But if you're out in a networking group, you want to keep it upbeat, that things are going well and that you're positive about your business.
So you're
and
not
your
talking
company.
trash about me in other circles or anything like
That
that.
Kurt over there.
He pays for his membership, but he doesn't show up very often.
No. So you just want to keep the relationships being really positive and ongoing. And there's some folks that I have known for 15, 20 years, and they suddenly decide to join the group. So it's just timing. Sometimes
Interesting.
it's not like there's anything wrong with them or with the group. It's just
Yeah.
timing
Well,
sometimes
and
for them.
it's easy to say yes to things. And you've probably experienced this as well, where you say yes, 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 and then you realize that you've got to start saying no to some things, otherwise Mama's going to say no more, and,
Yeah.
or
That's a good
whatever. Your
point.
relationships can be challenged by, especially if you and I both have it in common that we're married to introverts more.
Yes, that is true. Yes, my husband's a writer, so he's definitely an introvert. But the other thing I would say is also find your peeps or your tribe.
Yeah.
And it may not be my group. It might be a Chamber of Commerce. It might be a BNI. But find the people that you really click with and that you feel like you could refer business to them or do business with them or vice versa.
Yeah. I'm sure you have some members that are members of yours and other organizations as well.
Yes, many of them. Yeah, many of them are in
A lot of people
multiple
are dipping into
networking
several.
groups.
But yeah, I think my boss years ago said, find 3 groups, one that you're really invested in, one that you always attend and you consistently participate in, one that you are on the boundaries of, and don't spread yourself too much thinner than that.
Yeah, that's great advice. And that's what I do say to folks who are new to networking is 2 or 3 groups, 3 at the most,
Yep.
and then be somewhat involved in those groups.
Yeah, I dig it.
This episode is sponsored by LOCO Think Tank. LOCO Think Tank provides peer collaboration for business owners. We build smart, safe places to help business leaders navigate every stage of the business journey, and we love what we do and who we do it with. Our model features give-back-minded business veterans in the role of LOCO facilitators, and we're always looking for abundance-minded individuals to add to our membership, facilitator team, LOCO community, or to feature on this podcast. Listeners of this podcast who go on to become members of LOCO Think Tank get their 6th month of membership for free. Just mention the LOCO Experience podcast on your application. To learn more, visit our website at locothinktank.com. That's LOCO thinktank.com.
Let's jump in the time machine, shall we?
Okay.
I would like to be one of those, the rapper type guys, but I don't have the skills
I can see
yet.
you doing that.
I can see it. I'm going to have to get some lessons. But anyway, we landed our time machine, and you were sharing with me when we booked this podcast that you were raised your first few years in an orphanage.
Right. So I was born in Seoul, South Korea.
Okay.
And I was in orphanage until I was 4 years old. And then I was adopted and raised in Oregon.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you know the circumstances? Were your parents killed in some fashion?
I don't know. I wish there was more records, but there was no paperwork. So it was probably where I was dropped off at the orphanage and my parents, for whatever reason, couldn't or wouldn't be able to take care of me.
Yeah.
But thankfully, I had a really great, loving family that raised me.
And so you land in a family in Portland, Oregon? Right
In
the city?
Eugene.
Eugene,
Yeah.
okay, the college town.
Yes, yeah, University of Oregon. Go Ducks.
And so, talk to me about probably some early memories. You're 7 years old. You're starting to go to school. Did you have siblings? What was your family environment? What did your parents do?
Yes, I had 3 brothers.
Okay.
So I was a middle child. So,
Okay.
like I said to people or shared, is that I had to play basketball and football with my brothers, but they would not play Barbies with me. But anyway,
Were they natural born children of your parents?
so one of them, my oldest brother, was their biological son.
Okay.
And then the other 2 brothers were adopted from Korea as well.
Also Korean.
But none
Okay.
of us are blood related.
Sure,
But
sure.
we would, fight like
Fight like
fight
you
the
were.
same. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
fair enough. Okay. And what did your parents do? What were they up to in Eugene?
Right. So my dad was an insurance agent for
Okay.
State Farm
Oh,
Insurance.
that was the
So,
hookup.
yep, that was the connection with getting into insurance for 20 years. But
Okay.
yeah, he was a successful insurance agent in Eugene, and he did that for 31 years.
Oh wow. Okay. And your mom mostly chased
Poor little Rugrats.
yeah, Rugrats around.
Yeah, so it was a full-time job for her. She was a stay-at-home mom, but my mom was the type of person that every meal was homemade, and she cleaned the house herself, and they had a big garden,
Yeah.
canned, and did all that stuff.
She
So
kept everything about the house was kind of on her dial.
yes, exactly.
And what was the range in age from the oldest to the youngest? Say?
Yeah, so I had a brother who was 2 years younger, and then one 2 years older, and then my oldest brother was 8 years older than me.
Oh wow! So it was almost a second pass or more kids, kind of.
Yeah, kind of like a second group of kids.
Second group of littles. The older brother was almost an uncle figure or something, probably by the time you guys were getting teenager.
Yes. So Paul, my oldest brother, is 8 years older, so he was almost like a second dad.
Yeah.
When I was 4, he was already 12 or 13.
Right.
So he was older in school, and
Yeah. all
but
those things.
a great brother, and
Cool.
we got along. We all got along. But
And what was young Anne like when you got to say early years in school? Were you sassy and outgoing already? Were you more reserved?
I was actually quiet. I mean, I was always
Okay.
a social person and had friends, but no, I was kind of the nerd and the bookworm, and would volunteer at school. I was always the person out there, like helping at sports events, helping take the money, and
Yeah.
one yearbook, and yeah, all of
Yeah,
that stuff.
the overachiever, but also striving to make good relationships with the teachers. Sounds like a brown noser a little bit to me.
Teachers pet damn
Hall
people.
monitor. You weren't a hall monitor, were
I
you?
know I wasn't.
That's good. I don't like. I'm good for all the other stuff, but the hall monitors, I got no good time for them.
Or bad memories of all monitors, right?
Were you? Were you? This is going to be a terrible question, but
What?
were you like height challenged right from the start, like first grade, second grade?
Oh, was I
whatever?
always short?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So when I was like 12 years old, when most girls get their growth spurt, I was always, please, please, God, let me be 5 foot tall at least. Nope, didn't make it. 4'10". Yeah.
I'm sure we've talked about it, but do you know that I was like 4'11" in 7th grade,
Oh, I think
and
you
then
did.
I was still only 5'1" at 16, going into my 10th grade year.
Oh, wow.
So I was Kurt the Squirt. All through in my high school, like I was like your size basically, and I was surrounded by all these. My like 7th and 8th grade friends were abnormally big too. They were all like 5'10", 5'11",
Oh,
6
wow.
foot tall, and then there's Kurt at 4'11".
So you got
Anyway.
you got your growth in
Yeah, last
in
2
high
years
school?
of high school, and then first year of college, I got the last inch in there or something like that. But I was convinced I was never going to be 5'5". Like I
Wow.
was kind of doomed to which is basically the same as 4'10" or whatever you are.
Well, and for guys, I think it's much worse for them when they're shorter
Oh
than
yeah,
average.
when
It's,
you're
it's
a girl,
harder
you're
for
just
them.
pocket size. Like every guy kind of wants to have a pocket sized girl. So that makes them look tall and strong.
Yeah, yeah. I actually dated someone in college who was 6'4". That was interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So,
yeah,
so
yes.
you're doing all kind of the nerd stuff, getting good grades, dean's list, things
Right.
like that, helping out in the journal, newspaper, things.
Right. Yes, I helped out with the yearbook, and then at different activities. Whenever they'd have basketball, there's always, a place where you buy your tickets. I'd help with that. So
You weren't a cheerleader or anything like that?
heck no.
Well, you're nice and small. They can throw you around. I thought that would be a bonus.
I'm not athletic though.
Okay, all right.
I'd probably like do a split and
Yeah, bad
break
things
something.
would happen. Fair enough. Okay. So you're getting close to the end of high school. Did you have a plan, or did you know what you wanted to do from there?
Well, so my plan since I was a little girl, because my dad was an insurance agent, that I would work for him when
Oh, okay.
when I graduated high school.
Really, you were
Which-
eager for that.
I don't I think my dad was
He
more
just kind
so.
of channeled you in there. He's
It's
like, man,
like,
she's really smart and hardworking. I want
I'm
her.
a built-in employee.
Right.
So I started working for him. I was only 17 years old.
Okay.
Started working for him in his insurance office,
All right.
and I have to say, I don't know if you've worked for family, but it's quite challenging.
You know, not too much, but yeah, I can understand. Even Jill and I have found for our relationship, because we worked together some in the food truck business and
Okay.
things, and it's just like in a business, I need somebody to keep me inside the guardrails and stuff like that. And Jill does that for our household, but it didn't work that great for us. So I don't know that tension between father daughter there too.
Yeah, I think we were too much alike. So but we did it for 6 years.
Okay.
My dad had the highest average auto premium when I was working for
So
him.
he was killing it.
We were selling. He was a high producer in life insurance, mainly
Oh wow,
because
that was
I was.
early for State Farm too.
Yeah, exactly.
Mainly because you were
I
at.
was helping him
Yeah.
write and talking to folks,
Oh,
and
interesting.
then decided that after 6 years that was enough of working with
All
dad.
right.
So
All right.
I went on to college
Oh wow.
to get a degree in education.
Oh wow. I wouldn't have guessed that. Why education? What?
Well, it kind of went back early on, like a second, third grade. So I was, as you can probably imagine, being adopted and coming to a new country. I don't know. I guess I had issues, but anyway, so my mom and dad helped me back. So instead of going to third grade, I
Oh.
repeated second grade.
Wow. Okay.
But because I was a little bit more advanced than the other students, I already knew how to read. So I was sitting there reading to the kids and also loved reading.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, I want to be a teacher.
Oh wow.
And that was the
And then you
the
kind of got
motivation.
railroaded into the State Farm thing, and then you're like, okay, I'm out of here. I'm going to go be a teacher.
Yeah, so I decided to go and get my degree in
Okay.
education and actually taught for 4 years in Portland, Oregon.
Okay. Okay. That was kind of your first. Were you living on your own and stuff even while you
Ye-
worked for your dad, or
Yeah,
were
most
you?
of the time I was living on my own.
Okay.
Right.
So just a single gal in Eugene.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
Eugene, Oregon is, I don't know if you probably know, it's like the runner's capital. I mean, you
Okay.
had a lot of Olympic athletes that lived there. So,
So you dated a lot of
oh no.
stud muffins.
Oh, no.
I was just asking. I don't know. My goal is to make you blush in this
Kurt wants a
conversation.
scoop. No, I was just like one of these really slow, I don't know what the word is, but I always did everything late. Like I didn't get my driver's license until I was 20 years old.
Okay.
I didn't have a boyfriend until I was 20.
Wow.
I just,
Yeah.
I
You weren't in a
studied-
hurry.
And yeah, I wasn't, and pretty sheltered, but
Yeah.
yeah,
That's fair.
fine. So
Okay. And what was the home environment? What was the family dynamic, if you will? Like, was it like, did you have all your meals together with all these siblings and stuff? Did you go to church on Sundays?
yeah,
Like, what was your
yeah,
rhythm?
exactly, all of that. So we ate pretty much every meal together. Once in a while, occasionally we'd go out for dinner, but that was. I don't think going out for dinner was as common back then,
No.
so it was more rare. But yeah, and then we grew up Lutheran, so we went to the Lutheran church and
Okay.
went through confirmation and all that, catechism. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so we moved to Portland,
Yes.
and you're teaching. What kind of age kids?
8th graders.
Okay,
Yes.
and it stuck for 4 years.
Right.
What, talk to me about that experience. What were the pluses and minuses?
Well, I enjoyed it when the kids got the aha moment and really enjoyed learning. And I had this one student, we were doing a session on poetry.
Okay.
And the student at the end of the 4 weeks said, I really thought I was going to hate this, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So try to make it fun. And but the stress was you have 38th graders in one room,
Yeah, I can imagine that.
hormones and things going on. So yeah, it was kind of a stressful job.
Fair enough. And so, what ring did you pull? What did you do?
You mean to move on? Or
Yeah.
Well, then after 4 years, decided, and it was a pretty tough school. It was inner city, so there was
Okay.
a lot of fights and gangs and
Oh, right.
teenage pregnancy and things going on, even back 30 years ago. But anyway, then I looked around and thought, well, State Farm is a good company to work for because
Not for Dad, but for State Farm.
yeah, because my dad, I knew with him being an agent, I thought, well, they have good benefits, good pay,
Sure.
be a stable job. So I applied and got hired. And little did I know at that time that only 3% of the people who applied actually get hired.
Mm.
So I was one of the few and did that for 12 years.
Including the time out here.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Right. Yep. 8 years out in Colorado with State Farm.
And
on
what
a
were you?
corporate-
What were like? Were you an agent, or were you working in an office itself, or more in the headquarters style?
Right, more in the headquarters. So I
Okay.
started as an underwriter, one of
I
those
see.
hated auto underwriters.
Right.
And then when I came out here, I was a supervisor in their life insurance division.
Okay.
And then I moved into their disability claims as a disability claim examiner.
Interesting.
Yep.
Is it what? Talk to me about the insurance industry. Like, what is? How do they like? It feels like those three things are all unrelated to some extent, like life insurance and claims. Like, is it more about just understanding the company and or managing people well? Like, what were your talents that got you moved around?
Well, I think I'm a good talker.
Okay.
but yeah, so that's a good question. But they do all do in-house training. So they train you, so you don't have to have experience in those areas.
Okay.
And I moved from Oregon to Washington and then Washington to Colorado. So they had great relocation plans.
Mm.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then, like, what were your? Did you fall in love along the way here yet? Still?
Oh, you mean like get married or
Yeah,
have you-
yeah.
So I did get married when I was in Oregon. So
Okay.
this is when I think it was when I was a school teacher.
Okay.
So I met a guy, and then we were married for 11 years.
Okay.
But it was very dysfunctional. So
Okay.
it was a really unhealthy.
So you came out to here
relation-
with him in Colorado, and then
Yes,
it was
we-
about over by that time.
Yeah. So he moved out here to Colorado, and then
'Cause I knew Mike was your second husband.
yes, you're right. Yep.
And
Yep.
how long have you been with Mike?
We've been married for 15 years.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you were with State Farm still probably when you met.
Actually, I was working as an independent insurance agent when I met
Oh,
Mike.
I haven't got to that chapter yet.
Right.
So you left State Farm.
Yes. Sorry. So this is like one of those don't do what not to do kids.
Okay.
So I had this cushy job, owned a house, 2 cars paid off, went to Hawaii every year for vacation. So
It was working.
I was getting paid pretty well and life was good. Then I decided, I'm going to jump into my own business, my own job,
Interesting.
and did not have enough savings. And so within a year or two,
The runway was too short to
yes,
get to take
and,
off.
and you probably have seen people do that.
Yeah.
So it went from owning a house, 2 cars paid off, vacation in Hawaii almost every year, to where everything I owned was in a small VW Beetle.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I lost my house. Of course, around this time, we were divorcing, so my husband got 1 car and I got the other.
Wow.
So, yeah, it was a bit of a shock.
That was quite a, like, you'd probably, I told people after banking and when I was first in food trucking that I hadn't really eaten much humble pie before that point in life, but then that was kind of all that was on the menu for a few years. Does that sound like a similar circumstance? You kind of got moved up and up and up in State Farm, and then all of a sudden you jump and you're like, oh, the traction isn't
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
Plus, you
so
had
it's-
relationship challenges probably going on at the same time.
Right, right. So you just have to, what I say to people is count the cost.
Yep.
And before you decide to go into your own business. And so it's okay to keep that day job, if you want to, or you can handle doing both of them.
Yeah.
But the plus side of all of that is that I wasn't tied down to any place or location. And so around this time, my mom was very ill in Oregon.
Okay.
And I knew she was probably close to passing on. So I was able to just pick up everything in my VW,
Right.
drive
See?
my VW bug
Didn't even need to rent a trailer.
to Oregon. And just so I
Interesting.
moved back to Oregon. And unfortunately, my mom passed away 3 months after I moved there.
Well, but it was
So,
awesome for you to be there with
yeah,
her,
I
I'm
was-
sure, and I'm sure a huge blessing to the rest of your family that you could do that.
Yeah, I was glad to be there. And then
Yeah.
I could help my brother with his estate and stuff like that.
See, that's why God took all that stuff away from you, is so you could just drive out to Oregon in your Volkswagen.
Yeah. And then basically,
I don't think God works that way quite, but
well,
He allowed it certainly.
yeah, I do think when you look back on things, you think, yeah, there's a reason. But after being in Oregon for 8 months, realized I really miss Colorado, had a good group of friends and things. So moved back to Colorado.
Okay.
of course, starting all over with a job that I did when I was 17 years old, working in a State Farm
Is that
office
right?
as basically a secretary. And of course, the fancy word, they call it a CSR, Customer Service
Sure,
Representative.
sure.
And did that for a
Was
while.
it with one of the popular State Farm
It
offices
was
around?
with a State Farm agent,
Sure.
yeah, locally, and then obtained my insurance license. And then there was a job opening for an independent insurance agent, so I applied for that, was hired,
Okay.
and did that. And I enjoyed the sales and helping customers, but they didn't pay very well. They were owned by a bank, interesting enough, but they paid me less than $30,000 a year to be their insurance
Oh,
agent.
wow.
And when I asked for a pay raise, they said, "No, we don't have the money to do it." So that's when I realized that I needed to find a different job. It took me about a year to find a different job, and that's when I got hired at the Chamber of
Okay.
Commerce.
And was that directly into like the member kind of
Yes,
engagement thing? And who
right.
was David must have been the person there at the time, or who was running the chamber in those
Always
years?
Brian. Yeah,
Oh,
Brian Wilms was the
okay,
chamber
yeah,
president.
I remember that.
Right, right. So he hired me. But yeah, I loved it, and that
Did
was
it for a
a great
season.
experience. Yeah, did it for a season. It
Would you
was a
go
great
back?
experience.
Like if State Farm uh offered you your old job back for six figures, would you take it today?
I really would. I mean, even though it was a great job and it helped me, with moving
Yeah,
around
built
and
all
all of
your
that.
skill set too.
Yes, built the skill, they trained me. But it was a little bit like what I say to people, like being a square peg in a round hole.
Mm,
I didn't really fit the corporate type of mentality
yeah,
of where you just
you had too many fresh ideas
yeah, you
and
do what they say, and they ask you to jump, and you say, "How high should I jump?" But I had too many creative ideas, and they really didn't. They really
yeah.
didn't want that. So
It was part of you could move around from department to department and freshen those places up, but on the long term might not have felt comfortable for you.
right, right.
Well, you didn't know what you didn't know after a little while of being out in the real world. Kind of, you're like, oh no, I like this cage-free life.
Yes, you're right. And you probably know too, being a business owner for quite a while, is that I don't think I could work for someone else again unless it was a unique situation. But I really do like being my own business owner and setting my own schedule. That being said, I start working at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes
Right,
I go until 7 or 8 at night
right,
with jobs and meetings and events.
yeah.
So,
No, you're a hustler for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Um, well, I feel like that kind of brought us back to present day. Normally, we'd like to take a quick break here, do a
Okay.
stretch, and then we'll get into some of the other segments.
All right.
All
Sounds
right,
good.
all right. Cheers.
Okay. Thanks.
Hi, this is Clint Jasperson, Managing Partner at Purpose Driven Wealth. We believe financial clarity leads to a life of contentment and purpose. Our mission is to guide clients through the complexities of wealth management, retirement planning, and legacy using a values-driven, stewardship-based approach focused on provision, contentment, and enjoyment. With more than a century of expertise through Thrivent, we offer tailored strategies to help individuals and families achieve their goals and embrace generosity. Whether you're navigating a life or business transition or planning for the future, we're here to partner with you every step of the way. To learn more about Purpose Driven Wealth, call 970-330-7411.
And welcome back. So we're going to jump into some of the mandatory talking segments now.
Okay.
We always talk about faith, family, and politics. Because that's what Mama told me never to talk about. Or some people say that, but I know you're a fairly liberal, at least a liberal speaking person. We've had a lot of fun conversations over the years. So talk to me about where do you want to start? You want to start with? Well, I guess can we start with politics? Let's start with politics because yesterday Donald Trump was inaugurated for his second term,
Right.
and I'm just kind of curious. We've never really talked politics before, you and I don't think.
Well,
Seems like it's probably not something you pay too much attention
I'm
to.
I'm going to be PC and say I think everyone needs to, vote for the person they think is right for them, and probably not get into a lot of politics.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can talk family.
Just like that. Can we talk local politics? You want to talk about businessy, politicsy things, or you just
I,
kind of
I
try
don't.
not
I
to?
re-
You
yeah.
just don't.
I really pretty much stay. Obviously, I have an opinion, but yeah, I usually pretty much, as far
Okay.
as in the public realm,
All
stay
right.
away from
All
that. I
right.
know he's trying to lure me
Well,
in.
let's try to give people whiskey to just begin the podcast, but you just asked for hot tea, so I guess I can't. Is that more of a business decision, or something you just don't spend too much time with either?
Yeah, I mean, I do have opinions about politics and religion, but I basically it's a business decision.
Okay.
I think everyone's gonna have their thoughts on
You don't
who
want
they
anybody
vote
to
for,
cancel you for
or they
saying
vote for,
you
or
voted for Trump or not for
what
Trump or whatever.
religion they are or
Okay.
aren't. So, yeah,
Can we ask specific questions around it? Like, no.
I'm gonna kill you, Kurt.
Okay, we won't ask about the executive orders. We won't ask about the pardons.
Nah.
January 6 pardons. Can I ask about
No,
that?
we're not going there, Kurt. I know
All right.
you're close enough. I could.
If you crawled over that table
over
slowly,
that
you could get to me.
This is why it's like more than arm length
That's
away
right,
from
just
his.
far enough.
a
I
guest.
got a poker stick over here. I can keep my guests away. Is that same for faith in that regard? You don't prefer to talk
Yeah,
about
I mean,
that?
it's important to me. Yes,
Okay.
definitely.
Do you remain in the Lutheran Church?
Actually,
or you-
no, I went more non-denominational.
Okay,
But
okay.
yeah, yeah.
Do you want to give your pastor a shout out or anything like that? Do you do that?
No,
Okay.
not that he's bad. He's a good pastor. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's just kind of a private matter
yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Is
Just
that
give it-
kind of traditional, like for your family? Was that kind of like just kind of one of those things we just don't talk about? Like, I wonder if that's
Well,
a deeper member, or is that more of like I'm a business person, and so that we just don't talk about that?
Yeah, I think because I just want to keep things on a business level.
Yeah,
so
that's
yeah,
fair.
that's
No,
because yours
no
gonna make
pressure.
50% of the people unhappy out there if you say something.
51% or 49%.
51, yeah, 40,
Right.
depending.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons I talk about it, because I want people to know that we're just like we can still all be friends.
Oh yeah.
You know.
Oh
and-
yeah, I do agree. And I have friends who are on all spectrums of religion and
Sure.
politics. But yeah,
You're kind of a low judgment kind of a person, it seems like.
no, I'm pretty high judgment.
You are.
I
Okay.
am. but I keep it to myself. Although I have a
wonder
funny,
what
I have
he'd
a,
say
I
about
have a
me.
funny story about my husband. So he was speaking to the Rotary today in Loveland.
Okay.
So poor thing. I
Oh,
was
cool. He was the program or whatever?
Yeah, he was the speaker. So I was like, "Okay, honey, are you going to wear clean clothes today?" Yes. Are you going to do this? You're going to take your business cards? Yes. So
You were like setting him
I,
up for
I was tr-
success.
I was trying to help him. Like, okay, now you're going to be in front of these people.
Just so you know. All right. Well, then we're left to talk about family. We're gonna start with Mike, your husband. For what did you say? You met him 13 years ago.
15 years.
15
yeah,
years ago.
we've been
Okay.
married. Yeah.
And like, tell me about that. Was that a Match.com thing or?
It was a match.
Oh, no
yes.
shit?
Yes, it definitely is. It's a match success
that,
story.
Well, was it that specific website even, or
Yeah,
was
it
it like
was.
eHarmony
It was.
or
It was Match.com.
Okay. And
Yeah.
that was the season, right? Like Match was kind of dominating everything
Yes,
for that
true.
little season of time.
Yeah, and I say to people, if we had not met at a match, I don't think we would have met at all because Mike's an introvert, I'm an extrovert. I don't think we would have been in the same circles or probably talked to each other. But,
Sure. And what did he tell the Rotary Club about today?
He talked about going to Comic Cons and about writing. And
Okay. I would describe him as a very very philosophical, very thoughtful, very he's more vocal about his politics
Oh,
than
yes.
you are.
Oh, yeah.
And but also a very like accomplished comic book artist. Artist and author, right? Like he writes some of his own books and illustrates them. Is that right?
So he's a writer and he works with the artists. So
Oh, he does. Okay, I
doesn't-
thought he was just I thought he was both.
Yeah, that's all right. No
Okay.
worries. But he's the writer, and then he works
Okay.
with artists all over the world. And,
Okay.
And he is very accomplished. He's literally written thousands of comic books, and he's won the Eisner Award 2 times and the Inkpot, which is similar to winning the Oscars
Okay.
in the comic book world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Very interesting. What was your first date with this comic book nerd?
Well,
Well, you
so-
were a nerd too. Like that's why might have found each other.
Well, so for instance, you probably know this. Thick comic books are called graphic novels.
Yes.
Which I did not know
They
that.
were just becoming popular when I was like going to college, or at least as far as I could tell.
Oh, really? So he said he wrote graphic novels. He didn't
Okay.
say he wrote comic books.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
thinking he's writing some porn or something. I didn't know
Gosh.
what it was.
Right.
So then we
You're
go
like
on.
graphic how? Yeah.
It's like, okay. So we go on our first date, and we meet at Avogadro's.
You still went out with him even though you thought he was a porn artist or something? You were
I thought
desperate.
I
Just
will
kidding.
meet in public. so he brings along a comic book that he wrote.
Okay.
And I thought, well, okay, fine. But I'm kind of a skeptical person. So I went down to the local comic book store later on and said, do you know Mike Barron?
Yeah.
And he said, is he a comic book writer? And they said, yep. They pulled a comic book off the shelf and like, yep, he wrote this.
Oh, interesting.
So we went to Avos, and Mike has heard this story many times.
Avogadro's number.
Yeah, yes, exactly. And I've shared this story in front of Mike several times. But anyway, we went there, and it was like the middle of the afternoon because, well, we're old. So I guess we go on a first date at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Right. What do we got to do?
And then he shows up, and I show up. And it's really loud in there. They have a lot of loud
This
music
was like
in
a
there.
Saturday afternoon. They got bands playing or
It's a
something.
weekday, but they just had
Oh, wow.
the overhead music was
Yeah,
on
yeah.
really loud.
Oh, gotcha.
So then he's yelling at me like, what do you want to drink? I'm like, oh, I'll have a Pepsi or Coca-Cola. And then we sit there and we talk for 15 minutes. Then he gets up and says, I have to leave and feed the dogs. I'm like, what? What the hell?
Oh, what?
So I'm thinking, oh my God, 15 minutes and he's already leaving. He doesn't feed me. He's, kind of, yeah.
And he's just out.
He's just gone.
He's not
after
like, I'll
15
be back in 10 minutes or something.
No, he just left. No,
Okay.
I know, poor thing. So anyway, I had
Was
remembered.
it because he was crushing on you too hard? Or
I
what?
don't know what the problem was, but a girlfriend a long time ago had said, now give them a second date unless they're an axe murderer. I'm like, okay, fine.
Okay.
So then we went on a second date. We went on a picnic down at Benson Park, and that turned out good.
Much better.
Yeah, and he stayed longer than 15 minutes.
That's funny. Did he never give you a description, a reason why he, like he forgot to feed the dogs?
No, my
Or-
gut feeling is that he was trying to make sure I didn't have a horn and tails, and I looked like my picture
Oh,
or
so
something.
he was just scoping you out
Yeah,
almost on the first round.
Yeah, I think he was just like, okay, does she look like her picture? Because as you know, a lot of these dating sites, the person looks about 40 years older than the picture and about 200 pounds more. So, it's true.
I don't know. I haven't been on a dating site in
Oh,
years.
well, you're lucky, but yeah.
And so you guys had a third date and a fourth date. What was it about Mike, especially that drew you to that third and fourth dates?
So you never were married before, but whenever you've been through a marriage, you kind of like, I don't want to do this again,
Yeah,
make the same
different than
mistakes.
that one.
Exactly. So I had made quite a long list, like 20 items of what,
Oh.
if I got married again, what the person would be like. Like they need to
Okay.
be smart, and because I'm short, certain height, not overweight. They need to have a college degree. I tend to like guys that are fair complected, light hair, light colored eyes,
Okay.
educated, humor, like animals and kids.
Okay.
And so it was like Mike is one of those people, like the more you know him, the more you like him, because he's really is a person of his word.
Yeah.
He's really smart.
I
He's
like
hard.
him a lot.
He's
I think
hard.
he likes me too. We haven't really shared enough time together, but I know we like each other, kind of.
Yeah, he's hardworking. So I really fell in love with the person that he is. But
Yeah,
he's a
yeah.
person of his word. He's genuine. He's kind. He loves our dogs and he loves kids. He's like really great with if there's young people who want to learn how to get into comics. He'll take time for free to talk to them and
Yeah, yeah.
give them tips and help. So and he's got a very quirky sense of humor, as you know.
He does. He does.
So
I'm curious. This is a little bit out of left field because we were just talking about Mike, but your voice, you have some accent elements. And is that from like time in the orphanage, or was it time with your older brothers and family, or how?
well,
Like, talk to me about that.
yes, and I have been asked that. So I was 4 years old. So I'm assuming that I knew Korean.
Yeah.
Living in Korea for 4 years.
Probably.
And then when I came to America, learned English, obviously. And then my mom, when I was younger, she worked with me. Like we would say rhymes and poems together to help me because there's certain letters in English that are not in the Korean
Sure.
language. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I didn't really thing to consider, like when your adoption was, and yeah, so your younger brother probably has less of an accent
Yeah,
because he
so
was only like 2 when he came over. So
well, he was actually 4 years old, but he had been adopted by another American family when he was a
oh,
baby, and then unfortunately they gave him up, and
I
then our
see.
family adopted
Okay,
him.
gotcha.
So
So
he
he
had
never
been
had any
right. He'd always been
exposure to
around
Korean language.
English-speaking people,
Yeah,
right?
interesting. Okay, sorry to mention that. I just
No, no, I have had people ask me that, like, where's that accent from? Like, I don't know. My parents were Midwest, and I grew up in Oregon, and
right, like it's like well, it's like partially adopted early child stuff plus just an intuitive learner obviously as a young person. So
yeah,
talk to me about your siblings and your mom's gone, your dad's probably gone by now too,
yes,
is that
right,
true?
yes.
Are your brothers still all around with you?
Yeah, so I have three brothers,
Okay.
and one lives in Oregon and one lives in Washington State. And then we have every family has a black sheep. So we have the black sheep brother. He lives in
Okay.
Arizona.
All right.
Yeah, we don't talk to him, but it's
Oh,
okay.
do you have hopes to rekindle
I have forgiven him. I mean, I still love him, but he basically like one example is he did not come to our mom's funeral, even though our parents adopted him too.
yeah.
So he was mad
At
about
a certain
things.
point he just
Yeah. So yeah,
disengaged, and
yeah.
so you
So
can't chase people, can't make people do stuff.
right. And at this point in my life, I really decided I want to be around people who are positive and
Yeah.
have things good going on in their life, and they're not complaining all the time. So
Yeah.
and
And
and he does that. He complains all the time too.
you go out to Oregon on a regular basis still. That's to see one of your brothers mostly?
Right, right. So I have a youngest brother that lives near Portland, and
Okay.
then the oldest one lives up in Washington. So I get to go out and visit them
Oh, just by
quite
the
often.
Seattle area, so that's not
Yeah.
too far.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I think I mentioned my wife's twin sister lives in Vancouver, Washington, or actually, gosh, I forget the name of the town, but it's just down the road from Vancouver. So,
Right.
but
from
it's
Portland.
on the Washington side,
Right.
but in the Portland MSA kind of thing. Washougal.
Washougal, yes.
Washougal. Now I
Okay.
finally remembered it. Aaron, if you're listening, I remembered the town you're living in. She's actually coming out here just in a few days.
Oh, fun.
We've got some family. My Jill's nephew is likely to be the state champion wrestler for the 215 weight class.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
That's
a beast,
great.
and so we've been arranging places to stay in Denver for the big state tournament coming up.
That's great.
Anyway, I digress. It's a family thing though, right? Like, so have your brothers had kids and stuff too? Because you and Mike don't have any
Yeah,
children.
we don't have any. We have the fur babies, the
Yeah, yeah.
four-legged dogs. But my one brother that is the oldest one, he has two children,
Okay,
and then they each have kids. So he has grandkids.
gotcha.
And then the one in Arizona, he had $3,
Okay.
and he's a grandpa too.
So you've been around some kiddos here and there, but
Yeah,
you're and fur babies are what? Cats or dogs? Or
they're
both?
dogs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what flavor?
Oh, they're mutts. They're all rescue dogs. So
We do one-word descriptions of the children. Would you like to give a one-word description of each of your dogs? Give them their name and their rough description, and then a one-word description.
All right. So Bob, who
Okay.
if you folks follow me on Facebook, I have words from Bob, and I would say he's on the spectrum. Or
Okay.
He's
Your autistic dog?
he's autistic, yes. And then I have an old dog named Mac.
Hi, Mac.
She's crazy.
Hi, Crazy Mac. I love you.
And then we have a little dog named Freddie, and he's sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
very nice.
One normal one, the other two are crazy.
Fair enough. Let's see. I think that's the faith, family, politics as much as you would let me get out of you. Would you like to? What did you think about the Carrie Underwood song on the inauguration? Did you watch that?
I did watch that.
That was pretty sweet. That made me really like how she invited people to also sing with her in that situation. That was just,
Yeah, and the soundtrack
Classy.
didn't work for some reason. So
Right.
She still,
but she nails that.
yeah, she still went through and did great with the song.
Well, so I know that you voted for Trump by the fact that you watched the inauguration. Ha ha.
No comment. You don't know. I might watch every inauguration.
We're doing a
You're so funny.
we're doing a special segment next, and it's the ping pong ball awkward question challenge.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and at the end of this segment, one lucky listener will win the prize that Anne has brought. Would you
Right.
like to share what it is?
Sure. So I enjoy doing artistic things. And if we were talking about Oregon,
Oh,
I don't know if
wow.
people can see them.
Yeah, there's
But-
cameras shining
But
right at you. That
these
one.
are pictures that I
Like
took.
pictures of Oregon that you've
Yeah.
taken and turned them into greeting cards? kind of
Right,
thing?
yeah.
Oh, how pretty.
So there's 4 of them, and these are all pictures
Oh, wow.
of places that I've
All right.
been at in Oregon. They're all the ocean themed, and I thought would be
Oh, so
a
cool.
good idea to. But yes, that's what I'm giving
I
away.
love it.
is
So,
photos I've taken.
so I'm gonna pull out this bowl, and there's gonna be 3 professional or business or awkward questions in there.
All right.
But I don't know what the questions are because I need to get that printout from Ava, and so we'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right. All right.
So here's our new game to win a prize from one of our guests. And so for the custom
Greeting
greeting
cards.
cards, we'll say, from Ann Barron. So choose 3 of those ping pong balls.
Does
out
it
of
matter
there,
the
Ann.
color?
No, it doesn't matter the color. That's just to have some variety in there. And then I will read the questions right here. So we've got 29, 30, and 8. Okay. I've got them. So I've got 29 is what's your death row meal?
Oh my gosh.
So 30, what's the most surprising thing about running your business?
Okay.
And then 8 is what's your proudest achievement in business? So those are 2 a little bit similar. So I want to start with the business questions.
Okay.
And then we're going to make the prize this week. If a listener DMs us on our Instagram page, I think we'll share it on our Instagram. But then the answer to Anne's question of what's your death row meal, that will be the prize.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a little audience interaction.
Great.
So let's start with the proudest achievement in business.
Proudest achievement. Wow. I would actually have to say starting my own business, and I feel like it's rather
Just
successful.
getting it off the ground.
Yeah, getting
and-
off the ground and sticking with it for over 8 years because I have a really short attention span. Those people who know me really
Yeah.
know that I kind of jump around a lot, but this is something that
It feeds
I
your
love.
passions.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And so the most surprising thing about running your own business.
The most surprising thing. I think it just takes a lot longer than you think it's going to build to what you would like it to be.
Yeah.
So I would have to say probably this last year has really built to the momentum and really kind of
Felt like
gain
you-
speed.
Where
Yeah.
you wanted to be or
Yes.
whatever. That's when we started Loco Think Tank, or when I started Loco Think Tank originally, but it's never been a me. But a couple years in, I had to do some thinking about what Loco really stood for. And we settled with perspective, accountability, and encouragement was our main kind of pillars at the time.
Right.
And the thing you're speaking to is encouragement there. Like even now where you want to be is still a fair distance away from you where you are. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we can imagine like where we want to be and be like, well, you suck because you're not where you want to be yet.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes us entrepreneurs. And so that encouragement from other chapter members in our case, or in your case, all the people that you're around that have seen you grow, Northern Colorado community, they can be like, yeah, you're doing some great things. You might be, it might have took you 8 years to be where you hoped you'd be in 4. But it's perseverance to get there. So I think that's good wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay, now your death row meal. So you've been sentenced to death, but you've got the best chef you've ever met, and you can have as many courses as you like. Mike's right there with you if you want him to be. And I'm going to add to it, to the death row meal, any guests at your table, or would it just be you and Mike in that situation?
Well, that's a great question. I would probably say eating Dungeness crab with melted butter.
Eating what?
Dungeness crab.
Oh, okay,
crab.
yep. Dungeness, though, not king. No, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I grew up in Oregon. That Dungeness
That's
crab
the
is
best.
the best. Yeah.
All right.
Then fresh strawberries,
All
and
right.
then rice or noodles.
Okay. Just like that.
Yeah.
Is it all together? These are courses.
Probably all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then accompanied by.
I'd probably just eat by myself. I'm on death row. I'm like, I don't want anyone else
I just
there.
want to think about this shit. Eat my
What did
crab.
I do? Oh, I killed too many people. Dang. Caught up with
You're
me.
wrongly convicted, though. Actually,
I was wrongly convicted.
Yes,
I didn't really kill those 8th graders.
Yeah, they set Donald Trump killed them, and they set you up for
They
it.
set me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then accompanied by like not just the people, but you mentioned earlier you're not a teetotaler, but you don't really care about drinks or wine or whatever. Would you have a glass of red wine, or would it be tequila if you're death rowing it?
If I was probably going to drink something, it'd probably be like plum wine or some
Okay.
kind of a sweet wine.
A very
or
sweet wine.
Daiquiri, that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, something real sugary and sweet.
All right.
Who cares about if it's sugar in it if you're on death row?
Right, if you're on death row, it doesn't matter what your waistline's looking like tomorrow.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for completing all 3 questions. So,
Welcome.
the answer for listeners, probably Dungeness Crab gets you there if you DM our crew at the Loco Experience podcast. Thanks for playing. We'll come up with more awkward questions next week.
Sounds fun.
And then encouragement to young people. I'm thinking most especially like maybe the middle schoolers or the 15 to 20-year-olds in the world today that are going to have to figure out, you got kind of railroaded into Dad's insurance agency, right? Like not really, but
Yeah, it's kind of.
a little bit, that like I didn't know, like people told me I was smart at math and so maybe I should be an engineer. I was like, I don't know what an
Right.
engineer is or does. And
Yeah.
thankfully I was blessed to have people that introduced me to engineers, and I could go spend a half a day with them and be like, oh, that's lame.
Wasn't
But
your
like,
thing.
but how do you figure that out? Who do you? What is your advice to that person that's figuring out what they want to do with their path?
Yeah, if it's a middle school or high school, I would say probably go out and visit like what you did, different jobs or careers that you think you might be interested in. Talk
Yeah.
to those folks, find out what it's like. And also don't be afraid to fail. I mean, there's going to be things you're going to try and it's not going to work out or be really what you think it's going to be. But that's okay. I've had a lot of jobs that I thought, well, this was not going the way I thought it was going to, but that's fine.
Yeah,
You learn from it.
you put it in the pasture.
Yeah, you learn from everything too.
Yeah, you're a silver linings kind of gal, aren't you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, and finally the closing segment, the Loco experience.
Okay.
And this is the craziest experience of your lifetime that you're willing to share.
Okay. So I would say probably, and probably the scariest, was when I was living in Oregon in college. And my girlfriend and I, we were driving along the Oregon coastline.
Okay, on the Pacific
And-
Coast Highway.
Yep, Pacific Coast Highway. It was dark and it was rainy. And we were talking about how she's a thrill seeker personality. So
Okay.
she was driving rather fast
Okay.
on a rainy road. And then all of a sudden, the car hydroplanes and goes cliffside towards the ocean.
Oh, dang.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is it.
Yeah, I'm done.
And I was 24 years old. I thought, this is it. We're dead. And all of a sudden, the car just stops. So there's 2 passengers in a car, and we just stop. We don't go down into the ocean,
Yeah.
thankfully. And
You like slid off the road, but it stopped.
it stopped, yeah. And there's not a scratch. There's no damage on the car. They come and tow the car. The car is drivable. We don't even have a bruise or a scratch on us. Nothing.
Oh, wow.
And I wrote my autobiography about 4 years ago, and I asked my girlfriend, I said, what stopped us? Do you remember what made us stop? And she said it was a bush. I don't know if you believe in angels or higher, higher.
I don't know if you do either because we wouldn't talk about it.
So I do believe that there's something beyond myself. So I do really feel like my life was protected and
It was
saved
like a
that
guardian
day.
angel kind of an experience.
Right, because there's no reason a bush would stop a car going 60 to 70 miles an hour on a road
Right.
from going down into the ocean.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so that was
You-
kind of a pretty
You
bizarre.
like stopped and you like got out of the car like,
Yes.
okay, I guess we're not dead.
Yeah, so I got out of the car, and then there were some friends who were following us, so I flagged them down, and we caught a tow truck, and except the car was drivable, we didn't even have a scratch on us. Nothing was wrong with us.
But you let him, did you drive it home?
Yeah, she was able to drive her car home. Yeah,
She's like, okay.
yeah. The car didn't even have a damaged grill or anything.
Wow.
Nothing.
you just mentioned, and I forgot to introduce you as author and owner and founder of Northern Colorado Community, but you wrote an autobiography. What inspired you to do that?
So I wrote the autobiography 4 years ago. I wanted to do it when I was 60 years old, but I did it at 61.
Okay.
At least got it finished. But the point was, I think, more reflecting on my life, and then also hopefully people learning maybe things I did right and things that not to do. Like I
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
the thing when I left the corporate world and ended up with the VW bug was all my worldly possessions. But anyway, so it was kind of catalytic, kind of a catalyst.
Reflections on a
Yes.
life lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get to that point in your life, you think, well, I'm going to look back on it and got it published. It's on Amazon. If you,
Right. Okay. And what's it called?
It's called Soul Girl, Seoul.
Okay.
Soul Girl. Because
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
Born in Seoul,
Yeah, yeah.
South Korea. Yes.
What an interesting path you've had to. Did you, and maybe we're not quite done yet, but did you like struggle with your cultural identity in any fashion? I'm imagining that maybe not in your, probably more so in Portland, Seattle, there's a lot of Korean and Asian communities, but maybe less so in Eugene.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, there was more multicultural in Portland and around the Seattle area. So growing up in Eugene, the high school I went to had 1,200 students. So
Okay.
it was a good-sized high school. And there was probably less than 20 non-white students in
Oh,
the whole
wow.
school.
Oh, that's totally white bread.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And so I did get teased and things when I was growing up. But the thing is that most people get teased for something. Maybe you were when you were
I was
short.
Kurt the Squirt. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, or they're too skinny, too heavy, whatever, too tall, too short. But the thing is it's what makes you, and you just learn to be resilient and
Yeah.
move on with it.
Have you ever visited Korea?
I did actually.
Okay.
So I was 39 years old, and
Okay.
I went on a tour with other adoptees. So everyone
Oh, wow.
in the group were all
Interesting.
adopted and raised in America.
Was that like a big common thing at the time? Like this was
Doing a tour of Korea.
well, like when you were I don't know how old you are quite, but like was this post-Korean War? Was
It
there
was-
like a wave of adoptions that happened? Was Korea really in tough straits? That's why there was a lot of
Yes.
kids being adopted and
Ex-
stuff.
Yes, exactly. Korea was a very poor
Okay.
country after the war. And so I'm 64 years old. And the Korean War was, I believe, in the late 50s. So
Yep.
there was a lot of babies due to different reasons, unwed pregnancies, or people couldn't afford to raise their children. So there was a mixed race.
Yeah, was there even like American soldiers and Korean ladies
Yeah,
and whatever?
right. And
Whether professional or non-professional kind of style, probably.
right. And then back in those days, mixed race children were discriminated against or looked down
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah.
So there was a lot of reasons, but
Do you know? Have you had testing or anything? Are
I-
you
I
Korean
ha-
Korean, or are you like potentially like a white Korean?
I haven't had testing, but I think I'm probably pretty much majority Asian of some kind, whether it's Korean, Chinese, Japanese.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just kind of one of those people. I don't want to do the DNA
No,
test.
that's okay. You wouldn't talk about it even if you did. Thanks for sharing. Listeners, some of them are going to want to check out Northern Colorado Community. You want to give them a pointer?
Right. So the website is northerncoloradocommunity.com.
That was easy.
And then Facebook page, same name, same thing. And you can contact me either place. So,
Yeah, you can find her. If you drop her a note, she'll contact you back pretty quick.
right.
Well, and you've lived a very interesting journey, and you continue to add a lot of value to the business community here in Northern Colorado. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks for
And I know you
having me.
voted for Trump.
Thanks for having me as a guest. I'll cue you later. No, no, it was fun. Thank you.
Thank you much.
Okay,
Godspeed.
appreciate it.